It takes a special kind of man to drive a stock car racing automobile. This special breed must have many things in abundance: courage, strength and endurance, fabulously fast reflexes, and an even faster brain. Most stock car racing drivers possess these qualities, or they would never last one lap around today's high-speed tracks. So, what is it that vaults one driver into a consistent champion in this sometimes violent world of rubber-tired rockets? A man whose name is never misspelled by the headline writers, while another driver with the same surface qualifications seems destined to always finish far down in the tiny type reserved for also-rans. This is an intimate look at one of those champions, a quiet giant from North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains, Junior Johnson. Junior Johnson, a bull-shouldered 225-pounder, was born a mountain farm boy in the Rhonda community of Wilkes County, North Carolina. And he's still wedded to those rugged peaks of Appalachia that grudgingly support a man and his family. But those bare living days are over for Junior Johnson, the silent charger who turns into a speed savage when starters' flags drop around the nation's stock car racing tracks. Today, after a decade of being ranked among the nation's top stock car racing drivers, Johnson has invested his prize money wisely. Go ahead, call him a chicken farmer, and his huge chest swells with as much pride as it ever did stepping into the winner's circle at Daytona, or Darlington, Charlotte, or Atlanta.
I enjoy working on the farm. I've done it all my life. Chicken business to me is real interesting, and I do it for a future living. One of these days I'm going to have to quit racing, and when that comes along, I can always raise chicken.
Junior Johnson is a chicken farmer, and a good one. Every 10 weeks, he sells 40,000 fryers to Holly Farms, one of the world's largest chicken processing plants, located in Junior's home county. That's close to 250,000 chickens a year, a fact that pleasantly complicates Johnson's tax returns at the year's end. Like most of the regular drivers on the NASCAR circuit, Junior keeps busy. He's racing somewhere just about every weekend from February through October. And today, it's Bristol, Tennessee. Before the 250-miler gets underway, Johnson and his friends at Holly Farms serve up a barbecue chicken feast for the other drivers, mechanics, and pit crews. And this could be one of the reasons Generous Junior is so well liked by his competitors. But Junior says the only time he's happy is when he's leading a race or eating Holly Farms chicken. There's nothing that dresses up a sports event like a pretty girl, and the Bristol folks believe that what's good is even better in double doses. Only the fellows who prefer redheads seem to have been forgotten.
I don't know how much more thrill that the astronauts gets out of climbing into a rocket than I do in my race car, but if it's any more, it sure is a thrill to them, because when I climb in that seat, sit out, and the car handles real good, I sure feel at home there.
The pole position is Junior's favorite spot to be starting a race, but this time he was outrun in time trials by a couple of highly regarded veterans, Marvin Pench in car number 21 and Fred Lorenzen in car number 28. Once Once the race starts, Johnson's course of action is simplicity personified. He simply runs his automobile wide open until they swing open the gates of Victory Circle or close the gates of the garage area behind his crippled mount. This is the first year for Johnson and Herb Nabb as a driver-mechanic team, and things have not gone well in the year's early races. But each has learned from the other, and today the car is running well. Bristol is a short track, however, and winning here depends on something more than sheer speed and the courage to stomp a throttle pedal flat on the floor. It's going to take both skill on the curves and speed on the straightaways. And thus far, Johnson's showing plenty of both.
Sometimes there's a fraction of a second between staying in a race and getting knocked out. If your reflex is not real good and you happen to make a wrong move, you can easily be knocked out of the race. That's one reason I like to get out front and stay there as long as I can to avoid getting tied up in traffic or getting wrecked by some slower car that has mechanical trouble or just poking around and gets in the way. It's best to stay in front as long as you can, I think.
With his car not handling well, Johnson is running third at the end of 250 laps. And the decision is to give him a brief rest and let a buddy, Fred Lorenzen, drive a relief stint.
The car, we had it set up with a little too much lead in it. It wanted to lead to the left, and you had to hold it to keep from going too far to the left. You kept pushing on your arms, and it just worried you. Kept aggravating until your arms just about completely give out. And Freddie is already out of the race, so he wanted to drive it. I just let him drive for a while.
Lorenzen quickly discovered that what Junior had said about the car not handling properly, particularly in the turns, was true. While Lorenzen was pouring on the coal in the straightaways, he lost back his gains in the turns and couldn't improve on the number 3 position that Junior had turned over to him. But Lorenzen's offer to relief drive was welcomed by Johnson. It gave him time to rest his huge shoulders and arms for the stretch grind, to see how opposition cars were handling, and to plan strategy with Herb Nabb for the remainder of the race. Rested and ready to romp after brief replacement by Freddie Lorenzen, Johnson quickly lets everyone know why he's known as the Charger. He overtakes Ned Jarrett in number 11 for second place. And now an appearance in the winner's circle depends on overtaking and passing the current leader, Dick Hutcherson, in car number 29. The crowd is caught up in the duel that rages right up to the last couple of laps. And when Johnson finally guns past Hutcherson into the lead, there's one question in everybody's mind, including Junior's. Will his car, whining out every last RPM of which it's capable, hold together until the finish line? It does, and a jubilant pit crew piles on for the short trip to Victory Circle and a rendezvous with the young Loveleys who got the big afternoon started. They stand waiting, flanking a trophy as big as they are, and adding to the picturesque confusion that surrounds the winner.
Well, when you get in the victory circle, you've accomplished what you come there that day for, and it's a great feeling to know that you've won and beat the whole field of cars that's come to race.
But the next day, it's back to the Holly Farms racing stable and the greasy side of racing, the garage.
After every race we run, whether we win it or fall out, regardless of what happens, we bring the car back into the garage. We pull a motor, install a new motor in it, and also we pull wheel bearings, ball joints, and occasionally about every 3 races we'll put a transmission in it, new rear end, and new axles, wheel bearings, grease seals. We just give the car complete going over. It don't make no difference whether we win the race or lose it or wreck or what happens. It gets a complete going over. It's a brand new car when it leaves back out of the shop.
With a string of successive victories on the short tracks and already one of the season's biggest money winners, Johnson is tabbed as the man to beat when the NASCAR Tour pulls into Charlotte's long 1.5-mile track for the World 600 race. Johnson and Nab arrive early in the week to begin honing all the bugs out of a new mount, seeking the right combination of engine performance and handling to fit Junior's driving. But this is one of those times when they can't quite bring the car and the man together. 2 engines blow up under Johnson's unmerciful assault on the long, high-banked Charlotte track during time trials. With a 3rd engine installed, he can do no better than 9th in qualifying for Sunday's big race. About 5 hours of the hardest driving on the face of the earth confront the 44 ace drivers who make up the final field, all looking for the winner's purse of better than $25,000. And sitting far back in the pack in 9th place is not Junior Johnson's idea of how to enjoy the start of a race. His plan, as always, is to slam his throttle foot flat on the floorboards, look for a few feet of daylight ahead, and eat up everything through first place. But running wide open is not the only factor facing Johnson in gaining on the star-studded World 600 field. He's up against the best, not only in drivers, but in carefully prepared racing automobiles, and threading his way from 9th to the front against today's competition is going to be tough. Some of the drivers with an eye toward endurance more than speed have settled back to a steady engine-saving pace, and still others are resorting to that old racing trick of drafting. But Junior Johnson isn't built to cruise if he can charge, and with his car running better as the race progresses, he begins to challenge for the lead. There's no such thing anymore of getting Johnson to slack off, even when he's far ahead of the field, and a few less RPMs would reduce chances of engine trouble and help assure a checkered flag finish. Once he thought he had the Southern 500 at Darlington safely in the bag, took the advice of his pit crew to slow down, and found at race's end that the scorers said Larry Frank had won. Since that time, Johnson admits that he goes on the racetrack with his mind made up to run flat out all the way. Flat out, that's a racing term made famous by this chicken farmer that means the car is being driven to its absolute limit. One more RPM and it starts raining pistons. World 600 is rough on tires, and Junior and the other drivers must keep a sharp eye on the rubber they're riding. The pit crews pride themselves on the speed with which they can change all four wheels and have their man back on the track. For almost half of the World 600, Johnson has either led or pressed for the lead, but then the bugaboo that has plagued him all week strikes again. His engine blows, spraying oil over the track and throwing his crippled mount into the guardrail. So he wheels off the track and heads into the infield garage area as a sad Herb Nebb sees a week of intense work reduced to complete failure.
Racing can sure be heartbreaking. You just spend days and nights working hard as you can. The crew does the same. The driver plans, gets in real good shape for a race, and sometimes he only runs 10, 15 laps and he's out of business. Sometimes a car falls out of the race, no matter how good the mechanic is or how good the driver is. It's just a lot of luck into it, and everything's got to go real good for them. It's just one of them things. It's nobody's fault or nothing that nobody can do to help it or make it any better.
A fierce, unrelenting competitor, Johnson enters every race with expectations of winning. But sometimes there's a little extra incentive. This week, Junior will be racing before the home folks at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Johnson and Nebb were at the track early to work the kinks out of a brand new number 26, and the best way is to give the car a few practice whirls. Johnson would be the first to admit that much of his success has been linked directly with a succession of top-grade chief mechanics, and Herb Nebb, like Johnson, ranks among the nation's elite when it comes to preparing a stock automobile for the tremendous strains of racing. The driver and mechanic must understand each other, the automobile that one builds and the other drives, and there must be mutual respect of opinions. A couple of laps around the track, and Junior can tell Herb how the car's handling and running, exactly what changes he thinks should be made, and if there's a hint of trouble, what part of the finely tuned machine to suspect.
It takes 4 or 5 good mechanics to make a car stay together and run, last, and beat everybody in the field. You can take 1 or 2 mechanics and be pretty competitive, but you need 4 or 5 to do the right kind of job.
There's a little bit of the county fair atmosphere at a stock car race, particularly here in North Wilkesboro, and usually it's an all-day affair for the entire family. They'll come pouring out of the hills of Wilkes County to see good old Junior run, and he hopes that this time he won't disappoint those thousands of friends and neighbors.
We'd rather win here at our hometown than anywhere else, because I hate to be run home and whooped in my own backyard. This place we like to win a little bit over any other place we run.
Johnson has not had a win here at North Wilkesboro since his early dirt track days, and this hasn't set too well with him. But if his practice laps and qualifying runs were any indication, this could be his day. Junior broke all track records in nailing down the pole position, and all the other drivers know that when that green flag drops, the Ronda Roadrunner is going to be the man to beat. When the cars come out of the first turn, Johnson has his number 26 Ford purring out front, with Marvin Panch, Fred Lorenzen, Ned Jarrett, and Dick Hutcherson in hot pursuit. Winning this 250-miler seems to have become an obsession with Junior. He's setting a blistering pace around the 5/8-mile track, and within 5 laps is already lapping some of the slower cars in the field. The one big question in everybody's mind: can Junior's car stand this tremendous pace for 400 laps? But this is what the home folks came to see. Old Junior out front and still charging. There's no place on a racetrack for anyone except a driver who's concentrating. And Junior admits that it's doubtful if he'd notice should every spectator get up and leave while a race is in progress.
I never pay too much attention to the grandstand. I concentrate on what's happening in pits, what's going on the racetrack, and what the future stops coming up is going to be, and what I'm going to have to do to beat the other guy.
Often it's the other driver's troubles that interrupt an otherwise smooth ride for Junior. A spin out on the far turn crumpled Junior's left front fender against the tire, and an unscheduled pit stop results.
The pit crew on a race car, I'd say 90% of winning or losing. They got to be as good as a driver, as much skillful as a driver, and take as much pride in their work as the driver does in his. If you don't have a real good pit crew, you lose out in the pits when you come in to make a pit stop, and it sure is a real good feeling when I make a pit stop to know that the guys in my pit's going to put me back on the racetrack as fast as humanly possible.
While Nab builds the supremely swift racer that Junior drives, the husky mountaineer himself sets up the front end of his car for handling purposes. Junior likes the right front wheel set out farther than most drivers. This makes it cut harder, but this is the way Junior wants it. It takes an enormous amount of strength to manhandle his car over the long-distance races. Junior says he doesn't feel like racing unless he's leading or running for the lead. And he has been racing too long just for the glory there is in it. He races for cold cash first and fun secondly. For almost 300 laps, Johnson has been leading the race. He's had perfect teamwork from Nab and his pit crew, and with the car running beautifully all afternoon, has had no trouble outdistancing a field that includes stock car racing's best. Only Marvin Panch in car number 21 is in the same lap with him. But Junior knows that he doesn't have this one in the bag by any means. More times than he would care mention, Junior has had things going his way, and then suddenly have something happen to shatter all hopes of winning. But if that's the way the chips fall, you'll hear no sobs from Johnson. He still races the only way he knows, flat out. With less than 100 laps to go, Johnson has managed to stay out of trouble and hang on to his first-place lead over Marvin Panch. But then Darrell Derringer spins out on the front stretch, and this means a caution flag and a chance for Panch to close the gap.
I slowed down, and my car got to jumping in right front. Couldn't hardly drive it, and had Freddie to pull up alongside it and look at it and see if he could tell what's wrong with it. And he told me my wheel was broke down, or fixing to break down, and that's when I went into the pits to get a new wheel.
Marvin Panch has taken over first while the broken wheel was replaced on Johnson's car. And now for the first time today, Johnson is the pursuer instead of the pursued. But then, with 8 laps to go, fate takes a hand. Panch's fleeing first-place car can't stand the strain. His right front tire explodes, throwing him into the rail, and dejected Marvin climbs out to watch the final laps from the infield. After a caution lap to allow Panch to get off the track, the race is restarted with Johnson's number 26 in first place. Now, all Junior needs to do is keep his mount humming to win one for the home folks. The checkered flag drops, and that means Junior's last signal from his jubilant pit crew is that worldwide symbol of success. the American dollar sign. Junior has said that he races for money, not for the glory involved. But this first win at home may have been a day when money took a back seat to glory. That's Junior Johnson, the huge, silent racing man from the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. He's been called many things: the Ronda Roadrunner, the Charger, the Mountain Man, the Chicken Farmer. But there's another word that applies to this steel-nerved son of the superspeedways, this flat-out flyer who disdains anything lower than first place. That word? Champion.